Cannon Street's bubbling away, it's doing its thing. I'm now there. That's where I was sitting in 15 in my induction, and everybody's going, oh, what happens if you get sent to Buchanan Street? And I'm looking around going, well, I'm a client of this salon, so I already knew there was no way I was going to get work in 15 and I was getting to go over to the big, scary Buchanan Street. But I kept on going, well, the big man owns the brand and he's picked me to go over there, and they're all saying it's really scary. And then I got there and I knew from my first Saturday, so we'd spent the week in induction, and then we got placements on the Friday, and we had the Friday off, and then we had to arrive at our salons. And I knew that first day, and ironically, like the continual of my career, I was late, but there was no bus from Houston, I promise. And I knew from day one that this was it. It was like, I'm doing this, so I need to get involved. So I'm in amongst all of this. As I say, trained in the basement in 15, was lucky enough to film the whole building, which I've just found, by the way, in an old video 8 cassette, the building of 24, and seeing that grow. So that's all going. But 15 ended up staying for longer than we thought, didn't it? Because it didn't, all of a sudden, people thought you were mad because you were opening up across the road from yourself. And now you've got 3 within 250 yards, probably, of each other.
Well, what we did, the 24, the building that we bought, that wasn't completed. And we had to go back and say, could we extend the lease? So we didn't extend it, but they weren't ready to do what they wanted to do. So they took the opportunity of, they gave us another year. I think it ended up, we got another year out of it, and that gave us time to finish off 24. But we'd already opened that.
Yeah.
And that went really well, right from day one.
Mm-hmm.
It just went. And I don't think we could believe that it would have done that. We thought we were going to have to fill it with the team that already existed. So that then left us to, we need another salon. So we had to go round and we found one, and it had to be not far away from the original salon. So we found the premises in Merchant's House in George Square, and that started the whole process all over again. And we moved, instead of Linda moving across to where 24 was, David was already running that. So Linda moved round to George Square, and we designed another salon for George Square.
Yeah. And in amongst all of this time, coming up to 99, you've also decided that you want to create this software brand, and you want to create a software that's going to work specifically for how our business was going to move forward. And you started to understand the idea that maybe there was going to be something in being able to book without having to make a phone call. So you've created these salons. You're starting to think about this kind of mythical world of software, but also you've got pesky salon managers like myself chapping at the door going, what about us? And the birth of franchising now comes from there, starting with Adrian and Clarkson. So kind of in that timeline of George Square, where was Adrian and where was Clarkson in that period?
Adrian was pretty much, whilst he was working in 15 with Linda, he pretty much had, had the meeting And he said, this is where my thinking is. This is what I would like to do. Am I getting a chance to do it with you? Or do I have to go outside the brand and do something on my own? And I said, no. I said, we said that we'd give everybody the opportunity. I said, you go away, you find out where you want to live, where you want to bring your kids up, and then come back and tell me if there's a market for our brand.
And he then went on to marriage under David at 24 for a period before the opportunity came about, didn't he?
Well, we started to look, because again, you don't just find a building, but we started to look while he was under David's tuition in terms of management skills. And pretty much, he didn't have to wait too long.
Yeah.
I mean, we found a place within maybe a year of him being, might be a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah,
but it was reasonably, in terms of quickness, it was quite quick. And Adrian got his salon in Clarkson.
Yeah. So that then creates the next juggernaut, because we've not got time to go through them all. But obviously, you go Clarkson, you go Great Western Road, you go to Stirling, you go to Crow Road, you're then down the coast to Sunny Air, you're then going to East Kilbride, you're then going to Uddingston, you're going to Bearsden, and the brand is just growing and growing and growing, all through people that yourself and Linda had mentored from basically being kids right through to being business people. So at that point, did you ever envisage that, or was that just organic?
No, that was pretty much organic. The one thing that probably at the back of my mind, although I can't say that it did have some bearing on, I think everybody looked at Linda and thought, well, if she can get one, maybe I'll get one, type of rationale, which would be fair. But again, going back to the business seminars that I was on, one of the things that stood out and still stands out in my head today is, how would you run your business if it was going to be a 100-year-old business?
Yeah.
And that really stuck, somewhere in my subconscious.
Yeah, I mean, if we go back to you talking about building a stage in 15, the first ever assistant show that I was involved in as an assistant, so you're talking 1990, you stood up there on that stage at that time and went, I want 100 salons and I want my business to survive 100 years, which at the time I was like, all right, that's great. And at no point did Dad do the math, but I went, hey, wait a minute, I'm not even going to see that. The beauty is by 2029, I get to see my family as a chip shop business in Scotland as 100 years. I've even invented a corvée tartan for the point that we're 100 years, because I think by then I'm allowed to call myself Scottish, right? And then by the time, I think I'll still hopefully survive to 2039, and my parents' shop, which is still run by my brother, will be 100 years. But I never did the sums and went, I'm not even going to get to see Rainbow Room as a 100-year brand. Hence the reason why we're doing this, because hopefully the internet and sites that you can watch these things will be around in 100 years. But the idea that we're sitting at 45 years, so the pair of us will definitely see halfway. so at least we get to see 50, and I think that's amazing. But it wasn't just a pipe dream. It was something that you said, right back in 1990.
Oh yeah, and I think that's the driving force behind it. I think you're always looking for that next person, and it has to come from them. It has to come. You can't put somebody into that position. You never could, really. But that was the way people did it years ago.
Yeah.
And I've seen businesses, and I've been in businesses that run like that. Oh, you'd be good at that. You go and manage that. Where it's not really, the person doesn't want to do it. They think it's a great idea, maybe more money and maybe a bit more prestige, but they're just not going to be any good at it because they didn't choose for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess as well, if you've always got the mindset that that's something that you're maybe going to want to do, you're subliminally picking up, a bit like yourself. I liked the way that was done, and I liked the way that was done, and that was really good. I didn't quite like the way they were treating that person or teaching that person, and you're already collating your own information and your own data back, how you think you're going to be a salon owner or how you think you're going to be a manager or a teacher or that. So that's always really kind of interesting. So you've always been future leaning. We talk about the fact that this is as nostalgic as I'll ever get you at any point to get you to talk about the past. So I'm thankful for that. But the online thing, the online booking, the website, the software was hugely before its time. What brought that about?
Well, people were saying they were doing it. But every time I looked at anything back then, what they were doing was they were sending an email and somebody had to be responsible for getting that email. Then they had to phone that person back and say, no, can't give you 2 o'clock on Tuesday. When would you like to come? Now, that was never online.
No.
But a lot of people, even, a lot of the salons, big salons, were all pontificating that they had an online thing. And I approached different companies and said, look, that isn't online. I need something that is online. And we started with, and, we can do that for you and, be about 25,000. And, I put Gus, who was ex-Rolls-Royce, he was a time and motion type in charge of, what do you call it, just-in-time ordering.
Yeah, he was an analyst, wasn't he, for that as well?
So I said to him, look, you're the best person, you go and deal with these guys because I'm not technical, but you go and see if you can work with anybody. And he found a company, and it ended up we were about, the cost just went up and up and up. We were something like 100 grand later. We had an online, and a genuine online.
It was fully autonomous, wasn't it? There was no middle person, there was no middle interaction, and it was also financially backed as well because somebody had to pay a deposit.
Yeah. So, and it worked, and it was intuitive. People found it easy, and we just watched it grow and grow and grow until, it now levels off at 67%, somewhere around about that.
Yeah, so at the time of recording in 2024, as a brand, 67% of our clientele actually book online. I mean, you stand in a salon now and you hardly hear the phone ring. It doesn't, the receptionist in the front of house tasks are completely changed because that phone, they're not tied to that bit of the desk anymore.
No, previous to that system, we had 4 lines in every single salon.
Yeah.
And every line had to be answered.
Yeah.
So if it was a receptionist on their own, they had to answer 4 calls and put everybody on hold.
Yeah.
And then try and deal with the first call and get the appointment in, then the second one. By that time, the other line's ringing again. So...
And they've got 25 9 o'clocks trying to pay their bill at the same time.
And, it was just, at times, manic is probably the best word for
definitely.
it. And now it's a completely different scene. Reception now is about hostessing.
Yeah.
It's all about the clients getting looked after.
So it was almost a client experience as much as a nod to the future.
Yeah, it was making everything, again, it was improving things.
And back to Kaizen again
now. And making it easier for everybody. It wasn't like we were going to do away with reception.
Yeah.
We were going to change reception's remit if we could get this to work. But, it eventually got to the stage, 10 years down the road, where the software that it was built on was becoming obsolete.
Yeah. And that's also managing or backing onto the management system for the business as well. Because obviously you had created your own system that was, counting performance and monitoring colours and percentages of retail and all your professional incomes. And so every stylist, every manager like myself constantly had this ability to get up to the minute readouts years previous to most people and to be able to monitor the business that way. So the two things were together at the time. They weren't separate, and you were again ahead of the curve by years and years.
So it came to the point where do we start to get involved with building another system on up-to-date platforms? And the realisation was there was now loads of companies out there that were trying to get hairdressers. Lots of different companies had come in and saw the future, I guess, of retail, and we weren't in. That's not our job. Our job is about making people look good and feel fantastic. We'll leave the technical stuff to the people who are geared up for it.
Yeah.
So we then shopped around for somebody that would adopt our system into their system, so we could still have what we wanted. And that's what we're using now.
Yeah, that trend report is still our trend report to this day, and can tell us on one bit of paper where the business is, but it's actually the same information that we were getting 20 years ago, which is outstanding. Partners like that, whether it's software companies, product companies, are really important. You've also had a now 45-year relationship with Schwarzkopf as a colour brand. How important has that been through the journey of Rainbow Room?
Oh, it's been hugely. Schwarzkopf were a brand that, again, they believed in partnerships. They took us to some amazing places to have some seminars in unbelievable parts of the world. And it was always brilliant business information. So an awful lot of my friends were all still connected, and we all met through the PH Club, professional hairdressing club that Schwarzkopf started. And you could phone any of these guys and ask them any question for information, and they would get back to you with whatever. So that whole thing, I mean, their business model has changed slightly, and they don't do so much of that. A lot of it now is localised. Might be in Manchester, it might be in London. They don't do the trips abroad, but they were the heady days of the 80s, 90s.
Budgets, and unlimited budgets. But to the point where they actually now use one of your own buildings as their Northern Centre education as well. But it's quite unique in that you listen to a lot of brands and they've maybe changed from one manufacturer to another manufacturer and then back again, or carry more than one brand on their shelf when it comes to their colour. Whereas you've not done that. You've been with them. You know, it's always my fear as a salon owner that you ever turned up and went, right, we're switching. Because I'm going, I've got like 35 years of experience knowing this stuff. I don't have to look at the wall. I can just pick it and squeeze it and we're good. I'm going to fix that colour. Whereas the idea of taking that away would just be a heart attack for me now.
I think it's just, it's always been about training. You know, if they provide the training for what we need to do with colour, then we don't have a problem. If that ever stopped, then we would ask, there would be some serious questions.
Yeah.
You know, but the training has always been there, and that's the catalyst for the partnership. So.
And that's always culminated to the fact that every stylist in the brand now has to have their Colour Masters Award, that nobody else does that, that if you're on the floor at Rainbow International, you've had to sit the highest experience that Schwarzkopf can give you, and then to give you that qualification, which is unique.
Yeah, you can, you know, it's back to that thing where, you know, you make the decision, this is the standard, this is where we're going to be, and that's it. You can't start to dilute the standard. If you do, you're on the rocky road to hell.
Yeah, and it's still getting done today. I mean, we've had this year's class of 2024 just finish it, but you've actually had the old guard, myself included, back in at the academy. We've done a refresher course this year because, needless to say, the technology and the colour has changed dramatically since I did it 14 years ago, and that's been amazing. So obviously the word education, training keeps coming from right back to day one when you were like, could you really do this in 16 weeks? I don't think so. To forming your own philosophy of how you want to teach somebody, and you've had academies within salons, but you then go, right, here we go, we're going to open the daddy of all daddies, and Howard Street gets opened. There was a smaller version of Howard Street before the one that's there came about, but we'll gloss over that one, just literally that you opened it, it was too successful from the off and you needed to find a bigger boat pretty quickly, and that's where we are today. So let's talk about Howard Street and its inception and the concept behind it.
Again, it's back to people. There was two girls that ran in Buchanan Street, the Sunday Club.
Yep.
And the Sunday Club was there to find people who would be the next apprentices.
Yeah, they were too young for Saturday kids, was the whole idea. That obviously legislation had started coming in at that point to continually make training hairdressers harder and harder and harder. And you obviously set this up in that, right, okay, I can't legally have you on the floor working, but if you've got passion to be a hairdresser at 14, we can look after you. And that was the inception of it.
So we put two girls on it that were really, really good as a team. And Lee being one of them, she now runs the whole academy. And Ray was our teammate or a friend at the same level. And they constantly produced these amazing assistants, people that hadn't left school but tried it, came in the Sunday club. Not everybody stayed. Some people came for a month and stopped.
Yeah.
But that's okay. They tried it. But there was that, being able to spot that, I suppose, uniqueness about somebody that really has a love for training. Lee has it in spades.
Yeah. And she almost didn't know it. She thought she was going to be a franchisee, really. She thought she was going to follow in footsteps of other people, but you went, no.
But she said if there was ever a chance that I think I would like to teach, she said, would that be an option? I said, we'll make it an option if that's what you want to do. Uh-huh. So we opened the small academy, which outgrew itself within the first year and a half.
It was weeks. I remember because my franchise was open by then, and I laughed because we'd sent all these kids down, and I, came down and you're looking and you're going, we're already, the door's bursting. There was nowhere for all these people to go. And that was just the people training. That was before you put models and teachers in. You just put the kids in that were meant to be in that day, and you're like, we're going to need to cut people's hair on the street here.
So there was no doubt in my mind that she had, everything that it needed to be. She had the acumen, she had just that personal touch that she's got. And she genuinely wanted everything to be good. So I just thought, no, there's a place next door. It's 7,500 square feet. Here's another hurdle, we'll do it, and we'll do it as we do, bigger, better. We'll take all the problems, we'll design it round, so we involved her in the design work. What works well as a reception would be a circular reception so that the receptionist can see what's happening. What also would work well is we'll just have glass walls so that there's no hiding places. Because if you're teaching 30 kids in a room, you want to know where they all are at any one point in time. We won't have a staff room, we'll just have an open bar because that'll be easier to control everything, and so on and so forth. So we completely designed this place from the floor up, and we'll shift all our offices down into the back part of the academy. And then we left it to Lee.
Yeah. So you've got 50 sections in there that somebody can either look after a client, the front half of the building, or obviously can be doing a model throughout the rest of the building. You've then got a computer classroom, so people are able to do their online units and that bit be taught there. You've then got a further 2 classrooms that can be turned into, one's that can be a studio, one can be a performance area. Across the hall from that, you've got the director's lounge for us to be able to have our meetings and team meetings in the boardroom. And then you've got your office space. And, you know, when you see office space at the back of the building, it's the size of somebody else's salon, you know, because you've actually got, you know, 5 desks in there, and then the stock room and everything's at the back of there. So, I mean, it's a unique space. But again, not that you're ever particularly nostalgic, but I have to say one of the most nostalgic things you ever did in your history that I've been involved in is the Wall of Inspiration and the photographs that everybody has to pass by before they get to that open bar area. Do you want to talk about the philosophy behind that?
I thought it would be, it actually transpired with, what do we do with that wall?
It's always problem solving, isn't it? It's never really a concept going, I've got this concept and I want to put it here, or I've got this person and I want to put them. You just get hit with a problem and you go, right, well, how am I going to fix it? But it's just, you always come out this creative way with it. It's amazing.
It's the main area through to which, if you don't go into the salon, you go to all the other parts, whether it's the 2 studios or the computer room or the offices or whatever. So it's the main working area. And again, everything has to, you're trying to find answers to, or solutions to problems that you've experienced. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if this was a concept walking down this corridor where everybody that I've thought influenced me in some way was on the wall.
Yeah.
And people would ask, and that would create a conversation as to why are these people on the wall.
Yeah.
So the idea came, and I thought, don't really want faces, because faces are just pictures, and very quickly people change hairstyles and grow beards and, you know, change their look. And
you were also never one for the celebrity photo on the wall in the salon either. That was never, there was never anything like that.
That's never a thing. So I thought it would be really quite good if it just was their hands. That would make people go, who's that? So all of the people that inspired me, from Sassoon to Trevor to Longaris to Daniel Galvin to Joshua Galvin to, oh, you name it, you know, there's a whole load of them up there. I just simply said, look, we're opening this huge academy. Next time you're doing a photo shoot, you know, would you do this for me? And just sign it. I just want a black background with your hands. Do whatever you want with your hands. I said, that gives them a little bit of artistic input, I guess. And pretty much everybody did do something different with their hands.
Yeah, to this day, it's amazing. And obviously, you know, Vidal had to take it one step further, and he's just keeking through his hands, and you just get to see that wee bit of his face.
His eyes.
And quite frankly, if anybody was going to have done it differently and just have that little edge, then sure enough, it should have been him. It'd have to be him, and it's great. And I'll put this down on tape that Alan's hands aren't on that wall yet. So William, who's controlling all of this and actually the brains behind this podcast, I'm going to make him zoom in at some point and get a picture of them, because they've got to be on the wall at some point. So the academy's there. It's, you know, it's bursting at the seams. It's been a success to the point that Lee is now the 3-time winner of Educator of the Year at the British Hairdressing Awards and is going into the Hall of Fame in 2025. What's meant to be a Lifetime Achievement Award, she did it 3 years in a row, did it as a hat trick, and now it's like, well, I've done that, tick. So that's a testament to not only how well she's looked after the whole training and the whole of that building, but obviously your foresight to pick her in the first place, because obviously you picked the right person. So we're just coming to the end. And amongst all of this that was happening, there was also a product range that similarly started off with the name Alan Stewart on the front of it, albeit with the Rainbow Room logo, and then went on to become Rainbow Room International products. Did you just feel that there was that need to have your own?
I think I wanted to be sure that we were using the best that was available, and it was for the right reason. It wasn't to literally think about a mass market product. It was just, could we have something that worked on the scalp, worked on the hair, did what it said in the tin, and consistently just give the staff the choice of the right thing for the right hair. It was just to do that.
Yeah.
And that was the rationale behind it.
So it's back to problem solving again, because the stuff that you were getting, or the stuff that you were already using, wasn't as bespoke enough to where your consultation were taking your team down.
Exactly. You know, it was just, it had to be, if that was the conversation and it went, well, I need more body in my hair, then there has to be something that's going to achieve that. I mean, you're talking years back, so there's a lot of things there now that are on the market that are now identified as, this will make your hair do this, this will make your hair do that. But you've got to remember that this was years ago, and essentially we still use the same formula. It works, and every now and again we look at improving it, and if we can't, we don't touch it.
Well, that's where we're unique in the size of it, and that at the end of the day, it does run out. And rather than just going, right, we'll make it again the same as it was before, you know, you always send out a questionnaire to all the salon group, the art team obviously get involved, and it's, well, could it do this now, or could it do that, or here are the now difficulties that our clients are coming in with, or this is what we're asking them for. So again, that's back to Kaizen, and that it's just continually, can we improve it, or, you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it, but, you know, are the bottles okay? You know, that's usually what happens at that point, is like, you know, can we get a better cap? You know, whatever difficulties the clients are coming in with the use of the products as well. So that brings us up to the present day, which is actually the day after the British Hairdressing Awards in 2024, hence his slightly sore throat. He's obviously had a good time. Where do you see your brand, your company, your organisation, your salon group, and your people? Where do you see them just now?
I think it's down to the people themselves, where they want to take it. I can only direct and give help where anybody's asking for it, you know. But you can't, it was never about trying to manufacture a huge company. It was all about people. And if people have got the passion and they believe in our culture, I won't let anybody dilute it, because it's too precious, obviously. But it's where people want to take it. And at the end of the day, if they want to take it bigger, then they can do that.
And we're at a time you know, if you look at the news round about this time in the world, you know, it's maybe the most difficult time to have a small business, and there's a lot of naysayers in the future of hairdressing, which, quite frankly, there's always been what's going to be difficult, and you know, your beauty has been as a problem solver. So you've got lots of people shouting and bawling about where the world's at, where the finances are at, you know, where our control over our team members are at. Where do you see the future in hairdressing?
I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that different. I mean, you'll never get AI to do a haircut.
Yeah.
You know, you'll never get a robot to do a haircut. You might get a straight line or, you know, something, but it's never really going to feel, you know, this is too heavy or that's too thin or this bit's too curly or this bit's too straight. All of these things needs human interaction. So you're always going to have a place for people that understand how to make the best out of whatever they've got.
Yeah.
You know, face shape wise, you know, you're not wanting to make somebody who's got a round face any rounder.
Yeah.
You're wanting to slim that down. You know, these are all geometric principles that work on head shapes and face shapes and things like that. I think with a lot of long hair, there is, you know, do people only look good for 5 hours?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that will change, and people will come back to, you know, something a bit more practical as to, you know, what do I want my hair to do?
Yeah.
Do I want it to make me look good? And can I look good every day?
Yeah.
I think, well, you know, that is definitely going to come. And these things always go circular. It might change a little bit, but it'll come back the same. And I think people will always treat themselves because it is a very pleasurable experience,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, it's interesting. The running theme over all the podcasts has been people. You know, it's either been people that have introduced you to new things, people that have taught you, people that you've then taught, and then the countless thousands, and now through your brand, hundreds of thousands, if not now millions of people that have went through the doors of some sort of RRI building over the years. And it's huge to think that you've managed to have that moment in all of those people's lives through yourself, your brand, and the people that you've helped create the brand. And then from that, I don't think there's any illusion that you're not as passionate about it now and as excited about it now as you were back then. And it runs through the whole thing about just wanting to do it and do it to the best of your ability. So on behalf of myself, everybody in the brand that's with us just now, and hopefully the people watching that have joined in the future, just thank you for your time, thank you for your energy, and my point, thank you for your patience, because I've not been the easiest guy to be with, but thank you.
You're very welcome, and it's always good to be in your company, Ricardo.
You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got from it what we intended you to. It's very personal for me and very personal for all the team members at Rainbow Room International to get it from Alan, to hear it from Alan, so that then, in his own words, when it's a 100-year company, some kid can still sit down and hear straight from the person who came up with the concept what we're all about. But even whether you're just a client, a friend of the brand, or somebody that has been involved in this, if you've looked back at some period at that time and have a fond memory of Rainbow Room International, then I hope you enjoyed that journey as well. Thanks very much for watching, and this is the first of many. So hopefully you're going to join us in the entire journey of the origin story. On behalf of myself, Alan Stewart, and the whole of the Rainbow Room International family, thanks for watching.